good.
Hey guys, welcome to the Babbling Pastor podcast with your hosts Michael
and Rob, or is it Rob? And is it Michael?
Rob. That's
it
true.
Could be
maybe
artificial intelligence.
Maybe we're projections. All right, today I want to talk. There's going to be some. There were some things online and made it to the news about AI the other day. But before we get into there, Rob, I just want to say I had some musicians I know write us a song, a country song, for the podcast, and I want to I want to play that. I want to play that right now for you. Okay. So let me make sure. Make sure everything is. I don't know. Tell me if you can hear this. Okay. Oh, why is my computer losing his mind? Okay. Why is it? Hold on. Why is it not doing it? Oh, I know why. Here we go. Here, let's switch it. Yeah. Technical difficulties. Okay, here we go.
This is how you know intelligence is not artificial.
Okay, here we go. It's a country song, Rob. Here we go.
All right.
Okay, hold on. I clicked the wrong one. Come on, Michael. Figure it out, brother. All right, here we go. I was sorry. This is our theme song now.
Every Wednesday night, preaching from the heart, keeping faith in sight. Rob and Michael babbling with that holy spark, spreading love and gospel, leaving their mark. 40 years old, but they spit that fire, talking Christian topics, lifting spirits higher. Podcast blowing up, wisdom flowing deep, tuned in every week, faith never sleeps.
There's more. I have so many of these. There's so much here. Hold on. I've had so much fun with this. This is the emo rock version of our podcast song. Just bring me back to high school. Just the whole vibe of. Long intro.
Voices through static speak truth and lore. Rob and Michael in the night they soar. Words collide in the darkness they bear. Christian tales in the midnight air. Flashing bugs beneath the cloth.
Okay, so AI. Both of those, as you could probably tell, were created by AI. I just typed in whatever type of genre about Michael and Rob in a podcast, and it has there's some bangers in here. There's one that it's a rap song, and it says where's it at? Oh, it had a pretty good line. I can't find it. I'm not gonna play anymore. But the point is, AI is a thing. Okay, even if it's cringy, even if it's like a super cringe song, it can be made.
Cringy? I think that's top 100, bro.
What? Here, hold on.
Rob and Michael on the mics, divine dudes and soups, preaching wisdom and jokes, holy rollers with boots, talking faith, talking grace, mixing scripture with rhymes, spinning tails, breaking scales, clocking holy times. Podcast on fire, blessings through the wire. Michael dropping parables, Rob talking choir.
Yeah, I don't know. AI can make songs though. So the other day, now if you've made it this far, see that was really to filter out those that were not serious.
And can I just say something real quick? I think that one of the there were a lot of really like high praise things in those songs.
Yes.
And so that's how you know that is intelligence that's not even real.
Yeah. It's like this podcast. This is good podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, spitting fire.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start using that.
We
Michael, you spitting fire, bruh. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel bad for our kids if they ever watch
here we
this.
go.
So if they ever watch this, my daughter would be like, "Shut up, please get off the internet. I don't want you on the internet." So And to be fair, I would have felt the same way if my dad had a podcast. So fair.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so can you imagine our fathers with a podcast? Anyway, so AI. Try to focus, guys. AI. This last week, there was I don't know if you heard about this. There was a controversy where people on, again, X, were saying that Kamala Harris, one of her rallies was like AI generated. The crowd was not as big as it was.
Yes.
Like, yeah, Trump tweeted about it. It was this whole thing. And so I think, I don't want to talk about that so much as just that being a jumping off point to where, as believers, the reality is that there are things that I think when it comes to discernment, we were already supposed to be discerning and we were being really bad at it. And now that things like AI are out, that can get even worse. Like, it can get so much more clouded as far as if you like a song, like, all right, those songs were goofy, they were dumb, no one's going to believe anybody actually wrote them, but AI made them, and all I had to do is give it a couple prompts and it shoots out random genres with lyrics that sound better than what I could have written in high school. So it's half believable. But then I want to show you this right here. This guy I follow on Twitter, and he was talking about just AI images. Like, this is fake. This is fake. This is fake. This is fake. Like, all of these are fake, but they look fairly real. Like, if you're not thinking about it, this could have easily been some random dude taking a selfie video, and, you know, you could have easily believed it. And so when it comes to believers and it comes to how we interact with the world around us, especially like using that Kamala Harris AI, not AI thing, like I think we have to think as believers, and then specifically like in your position as a pastor, how do we talk about these things, interact with these things, really pump up, like teaching people how to discern well instead of jumping to conclusions, especially in a world where, oh, wrong thing. That was the last episode. This one here, where it's like, if you put this guy here and have him say something that's mildly controversial, or worse yet, a public figure like a president or a senator or something, and have them say something that's controversial that they didn't say, and now that's out in the world. So, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I don't know if you've had, some of the older people in my church have definitely talked about the terribleness of AI. But I don't know if you've heard about that or thought about that, but these things, I was like, wow, like, this is obviously coming at us so fast. We're already bad at discernment. This is going to wreck us if we're not careful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that this is a problem. I think it's a real problem that, that has real effect. And I think that, so AI, one of the first things that, I guess in my feed, that started popping up when it comes to AI things are, like this place here and there, like in Europe or in wherever other places, where, now there's an AI person, I shouldn't even say person. There's an AI, figment of, computer imagination, preaching on a screen,
I saw that, yeah.
on Sundays. Right. So, and then I think, one of the biggest, things that I think are bad that isn't part of what you brought up is, we have the potential now to be in, so I guess it kind of touches it because it's discernment still, right? So, but for the believer in the chair on Sunday morning, you have, more reason now to, more obvious reason, let's say, to know your Bible, front to back than ever. And I say that because there are people who, like, if AI got good enough and within reach, right? Some of the things that you see that are like, whoa, well, the person paid, you know, some cash to pull that off, right? Not always. Some of it's definitely free, but the free stuff that I've looked at is
Yeah,
at
it's
least
not good.
generally garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 4 hands coming out, or or whatever, but but so just potentially, right, you could have guys that are really trusted by some people as pastors, saying things, and if it's worded correctly, inching people just a little bit in a direction, you know um and uh so I think that AI can be really dangerous for the Christian. I also think that there are going to be very real flesh and blood pastors who should immediately stop being pastors, who might use AI to do their outline and study and crap like that. Like
I was
immediately you
gonna
should.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, that wasn't the top of the thing, but yeah, we can talk
Mhm.
about that for sure.
Yeah, and I think the same thing translates to college papers, seminary papers, whatever. Um, there's all this potential for AI to replace human eye, right? And so if AI, just to make the point, if AI writes all of your term papers and things like that, you're still just as stupid at the end of whatever degree you got as you were at the beginning, right? You didn't actually earn anything. Um,
Well,
and
you didn't learn it. You didn't do the
Right,
work to learn it. Yeah.
right, yeah. And so I think that there are massive problems that have to be dealt with AI, or that will on in an ongoing way have to be uh, dealt with. Um, So specific to discernment, I think that those are areas that if your pastor is up there preaching even before AI, you should have the ability to hear something and say, with something that is off, whenever that might be, or that you're confused about because you thought this or that. um, you should have the ability as a believer to, after church, to walk up and say, hey, but what about, right? um, and and I think that's discernment that we should have had all along. uh, However, on a like if we're going outside of just Bible stuff, right? Politicians saying things or whatever, that is a problem. That is going to increasingly be a struggle for us, because you really won't be able to trust anyone in in some sense. And the only things that you could really trust are things that were said and records that someone has before AI came out. you know, I mean, I don't want to be all conspiracy theorist about it, but it is going to take some,
Yeah.
because how they also have those images you were talking about with Harris. There's some artificial intelligence if I've ever seen it. Kamala
But
Harris.
bum.
Anyway, um, but those images though that you're talking about with the crowds or whatever, that I mean, there are, so they run those through something, and it's like, oh, 98% artificial intelligence. You've seen this?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, where they like do this testing thing or whatever, and the computer says, "Oh, this is the percentage amount that this
Isn't
is AI."
isn't there an oddity though that you're letting the computer tell you if a computer
Right.
made it? That's a
Yeah,
little weird.
and that's my point. I'm not saying that that's not accurate, but um, but wouldn't it be just as easy for a company to create something that has one candidate, like when they recognize one candidate's face, oh, artificial intelligence, or you know what I mean? Like it would be just
Yeah.
as easy to create that and fool you. Like it's going to be important to do your homework now. Um,
Yeah. 100%.
A lot more important. You can't go off of just a few things or a story or that you read or whatever else. And two, I think another point would be pay more attention to local. Um, the mayor of Dickinson, North Dakota, is not going to have the capability to use AI, in his campaign. And you can go meet with that guy, or email him and talk to him, and city commissioners, county commissioners, whatever. Like there are people locally. Like this is where change happens anyway in a society, right? Like first and foremost, you don't wait around and hope that a national candidate for anything is going to just solve all the issues.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy. That's never worked. You get 4 or 8 years of one person, and then it just changes. It flip flops. So this is the cycle that we're in, right? So I think locally, people are going to have way less resources to do this kind of thing, unless you're in like LA or New York, or a legitimate like big city where there's a lot more know-how and money with that kind of stuff. But
Yeah. Well, I think what you said about doing the homework thing is important. The understanding that in any regard, right? So I say this because when you were talking, the thought came like, I saw how easily, like, and how viral Christians took the Olympics opening ceremony, right? And we're not talking about it. That's not the topic of this podcast, but just the virality of that moment taken over a span of like 4 or 5 days, and how quickly people, without verifying, checking, doing anything, just it exploded. And if you were to do that, let's say with an image that wasn't real, let's just say something, I mean, we are fully within the capability, like you said, the free ones are junk, but there are definitely paid programs that can make things that look very legitimate. Now, could somebody fake some, Kamala or Trump saying something not? No, because those campaigns would come out and say this is right. But you could potentially, make it look like, an attack happened somewhere. And if that spread fast enough, and it was in a place that was far enough off the grid that nobody could confirm or deny, things could happen pretty quick. Like there's just things that we as Christians, instead of like clicking the share button and being like, it would be better. Like James, like slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to anger. The idea is just saying like, think through what you're processing so that you do have accurate information. You're not just reacting, you're being discerning. And through that discerning process, if it then it elicits a response, great, but you at least know what you're talking about before you go off the handle on it. And as we've already talked about, like the online is great for sort of baiting you into doing that. I mean, there's conversations the other day I saw from the Elon Trump. They did a whole live on X, and people were clipping that and putting like clips out when there was like more context behind it, and people were just like latching onto it like blood in the water, and they're piranhas. And you're like, I think we've created a society that is so dumbed down and so ready to react, and this includes Christians, that we're not thinking through it. And if you combine that non-discerning, ready to do whatever with fake AI, a good enough AI, you've got a lot of problems there where Christians can put themselves in a compromising situation just for their testimony, to look like idiots and really hurt your witness, because now it's like, you guys, I mean, you said this, you said that, you shared this, you don't even know what reality is. And I think there's a real truth where we got to step back and go like, all right, am I just being baited? Is this really real? Is there research to be done? And honestly, a lot of people don't do that because it takes time. When I tell people, for example, for the video essays, that each of these video essays I do take like 6 months, they lose their mind, because I'm like, but you understand how much digging it takes to get to the bottom of some of this stuff? Like, I can't imagine what book research would be. It would just be ridiculous to write a book and have to research it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could put one of those videos together in a month, but there would have been all sorts of things taken out of context. there would have been, it would just be like, oh, that'll be good for it. And then you put it in there and don't do any research. I mean, and you can't do that, right? Now you're almost surely putting out something that's garbage and false and whatever, right? But to run down each of these clips and look at the full thing, or to reach out to the person or the organization or whatever, and like that kind of stuff would take time to do it right, and I think another thing is that as we think about discernment as Christians, this is something that should have been happening all along. If you just look up, I don't know, Google search scriptures about what does the Bible say about discernment, the list is going to be ridiculous. It's all over the place. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they're from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. That doesn't say discernment, but that's about discernment, right? It's all over the place. There's an expectation that Christians are going to think slowly about something and be careful and pay attention. And I think that one way that we can, as Christians, do this better than we are right now is anytime you hear, and this has been going on for a lot longer than AI, but when you see a clip, you should always wonder what's the rest of it. And so there, I might not do that. So again, I'll use Kenneth Copeland, right? Because that was already brought up at one point. If I see a short clip of Kenneth Copeland, I don't necessarily go research the whole thing because there's such a track record that you really don't have to. You understand what he means when he uses certain words because there's a whole history, right? But by and large, especially if something is making news, it's like, wow, can you believe that so-and-so, whatever? The best thing that you could do is look for yourself. Or if you don't have time, don't jump to conclusions, don't spread, don't participate, and pretend that you didn't even hear anything, right? If it's a big enough deal that it's like, whoa, wait a minute, then you should go listen, listen to the whole sermon, or at least part of the sermon in context, that part of the sermon in context or whatever, so that you can hear the statement that, say, Furtick or somebody says, right? We should never just like jump to conclusion. And I realize I'm not perfect at this either. I don't, any of us probably aren't, right? I mean,
learning
this is something that the whole Christian world struggles with right now. And I would argue much of it is epically failing at. We see something, and if it already fits with a fire we'd love to start, then I think even subliminally, we might even intentionally not want to know more because this fits. You know what I mean? So I'm going to dive on that, right? That goes back to our last podcast. I don't think that people maybe are intentionally thinking that way, but under the surface, there's something going on in you that would cause you to jump to that conclusion without exercising discernment in these situations. So I think that quick to listen, slow to speak thing is super applicable right now in regards to this topic.
Yeah, I think that's a great kind of segue to my last statement, and I'll throw it over to you before we end. But I think the emotional part plays an enormous role in that. Like you're saying, like why are you reacting that way? Because there's people that I know, like, for example, I give some examples of there's some older people in my church that like are very concerned about the country. And so a lot of that emotion comes up whenever they talk about either AI or or certain topics. And not that you shouldn't be emotional about things, but there is something about the Christian life that you're not guided. Like, that's not what's driving the boat, even though that may be the passion behind it. That's not what is guiding everything. And I think, again, like you said, if you see something and it fits the narrative of what you already think, you are so less apt to actually slow down and consider it, because there's an assumption that this has to be right then. And so, and you can have that on all sorts of things. I think it just comes back. And again, this is a lot of people. I mean, it took me a lot of time, and I, again, am not great at this either, but it took me a lot of time to realize that, oh, okay, like I need to pull the reins back a bit on just how I would defaultly react, take emotion out of the picture for a second, and then slow down, which is where a lot of the whole concept for the sermon reviews came, is I'm just like, I need to just really think about this before I just flame somebody for something that maybe they didn't even say, like maybe it's out of context, or maybe I'm misunderstanding them. And to step back enough and to be mature enough to say, I don't necessarily have to comment about this, or I don't have to necessarily like just go after some random stranger that I don't know and assume all these things about them. And I think there's a part of that where we're just not trained to do that. Whereas, again, talking about healthy churches, if you don't have like a Titus 2 sort of church of an older guy stepping in and be like, yo, not worth it, right? My daughter, I'll say this. My kids are 10 years apart. When my son started throwing fits when he was like 5, my daughter would step in and be like, not worth it. It's not going to work. It's not worth it, buddy. Don't do it. And he's more mature.
Been there, bro.
He's more mature at his age than she was at hers, but that's because she was able to say like, hey, just it's not, don't do it. It's not worth it. And I think when we have like a Titus 2 church where older men are able to say, hey, it's not, I've already seen where this road goes, not worth it for you, do this better, then you're farther down the road and you're able to help other people do the same. So in discernment and AI, I think those of us that have already kind of seen how that's going, for as people come up underneath us to be able to say, put the brakes on, let's think through this, let's discern through this, let's really comprehend what's going on. I think that's going to help the church if we do it right. But that's my 2.
Yeah. So I think that one of the things, and this can and this will be the last major thing that I'm thinking. One of the things that we can do is when we hear something, particularly that sounds outrageous, right? The thing that, like, if someone says it and it's kind of who they are anyway, and everybody knows it, then it's like there's probably not a ton of reason to check and see if that's AI, right? But if it's something that seems out of character, for sure, that's going to cause a lot of ruckus or something, the best thing that you can do, AI in or out of the picture, the best thing that you can do is figure it out, look at the context, be discerning about it, and maybe even after you've come to a conclusion, begin the conversation with someone like, if they really said this, then right, to like give that caveat, and I think that might be a helpful thing to remember also, so that we're just assuming for sure, no matter what, that this person did say this, or that this person did write this, or that this person does believe this, and this is what they meant. And if I haven't gone and really done homework and checked it out. And so I think Colossians 2:8, see to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deception, according to the tradition of men, according to the elementary principles of the world, and not according to Christ. That is written to believers, and it's the expectation of believers. And so at the end of the day, it's on us. If we're not discerning and we jump to conclusion and we don't do homework, then you're more foolish than the person you're talking about. So do your homework, right? We never, I thought I was done with that.
Never. It doesn't end, Rob.
But do your homework is still something that applies to adults.
Unfortunately,
So
yeah,
there
you don't
go.
have to write the essay on it unless you just want to do it for fun. But yeah, all right, guys.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll
hopefully,
use AI.
hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was helpful. If it was, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you share. If you aren't subscribed, I don't know what's wrong with you. Go ahead and do that. Unless you're an AI robot, don't subscribe if you're an AI robot. And we'll talk
Yeah.
to you next time. Bye. See ya.
Bye.